A few years ago, a client, let's call her Sarah, sat in my office with the kind of tired eyes you only see on people who've carried too much for too long. She wasn't physically sick. She wasn't working three jobs. She wasn't running marathons in the morning before breakfast. But she was exhausted. She told me she'd spent the past year taking care of her mother after a surgery, being the emotional mediator in her family, keeping up with her demanding boss, and making sure everyone else was okay. Then she said the line I've heard 100 times. I don't understand. I didn't do anything today, but I feel like I've run 10 miles barefoot. Sound familiar? So many people feel emotionally drained, not because their lives are dramatic, but because their lives are relentless. Quiet pressure, constant responsibility, always being on. And when you're the kind of person who feels deeply, cares deeply, or has a nervous system shaped by stress, trauma, or long term emotional responsibility, that exhaustion shows up sooner and sinks in deeper. So let's talk about the psychology of emotional exhaustion. Why does it happen? What kind of people experience it the most? And more importantly, how do we begin to refill an empty emotional tank? Most emotionally drained people don't say, "Oh, I'm emotionally depleted." They say things like, "I'm tired for no reason. I can't focus. I'm fine, but they're absolutely not fine. I don't feel like myself anymore. Nothing is wrong, but everything feels heavy." And sometimes the scariest symptom isn't the crying, it's the numbness. When nothing excites you, nothing bothers you, and nothing feels important anymore. You might even start wondering, was I always this tired, or did life slowly wear me out while I wasn't paying attention? That question alone tells you how long the exhaustion has been living in your body. There are a few common psychological patterns in people who feel emotionally wrung out. Let's go through them one by one. A lot of emotionally drained people aren't weak. They're actually the strongest ones in the room. They're the oldest daughters, emotional caregivers, overthinkers, family therapists, peacekeepers, people who were forced to grow up too fast. Maybe in childhood they learned, if I fall apart, there's no one to catch me. So they stopped falling apart. They held everything together. They became the dependable one. But what happens when children become adults who never rest? They start breaking in slow motion, not loudly, not explosively, just silently from the inside out. Some people grew up in families where the emotional weather changed minute by minute, mood swings, shouting, tension, unpredictable reactions. Children in those homes learn emotional hypervigilance. What is mom feeling? Is dad upset? How do I prevent the next explosion? How do I keep the peace? And here's the thing, even when they grow up, they continue scanning rooms like emotional detectives. They know how everyone else feels, but they have no idea how they themselves feel. That is draining. Imagine carrying not just your emotional backpack, but everyone else's too. No wonder by the end of the day you're exhausted. You've been doing invisible labor no one sees. Not because they don't want to, because their nervous system never learned how. Some people sit on a couch and still feel guilty. I should be doing something. There's laundry. I'm wasting time. Well, no. Rest is not wasted time. Rest is maintenance. But if you were raised in a household where being still meant being lazy, being emotional meant being dramatic, or having needs meant being a burden, then rest feels dangerous. You might have a body trying to power down while your brain is yelling, "Get up, be useful." And that's already exhausting. Emotionally drained people are often generous with their time, with their empathy, with their energy, sometimes with their entire life force. They are the ones everyone calls when something goes wrong. But who do they call? That's the tragedy. People who are always there for others tend to feel alone when they need someone. Not because others don't care, but because people get used to them being the strong one. Even strength has limits. Even caregivers need care. Self sacrificing people don't usually land there by accident, they were trained into it. Maybe they learned your needs don't matter. Other people come first. Take care of everyone else before yourself. Saying no makes you selfish. So when they finally try to set a boundary, something as simple as, I can't talk right now, I'm tired, their brain freaks out. Guilt arrives, shame tags along. Anxiety sits in the corner, waving, and suddenly it feels easier to just keep giving, even when you're breaking down. But think of it this way: if you pour and pour and pour, eventually there's nothing left to give, not to others and not to yourself. When you grow up in environments that feel unsafe, emotionally, physically, mentally, your brain develops a habit. Stay alert, stay tense, stay prepared, even when the danger is gone. People in long term survival mode don't realize how much energy they burn just existing, their bodies constantly. Monitoring threats, anticipating problems, playing what if, preparing for the worst. Of course, they're tired. That's not personality, that's physiology. Sometimes exhaustion is the body saying, we can't live like this anymore. This one hurts. Some people become incredible caretakers because they never had one. Their emotional muscles are overdeveloped because they've been lifting life alone since childhood. When you grow up being the emotional backbone of the family, adulthood can feel like a continuation of that role. I'm the one who always holds everything together. But imagine how heavy that gets after 10, 20, 30 years. Sometimes people don't need therapy first. They need a break. If you ignore emotional drainage long enough, it doesn't just stay emotional, it becomes physical. Brain fog, headaches, sleep problems, feeling numb, anxiety, irritability, zero motivation, fear of one more responsibility. Some people wake up tired and go to bed tired, not because they didn't sleep, but because their brain never powered down. And here's the tricky part: emotionally drained people can still function. They go to work, they smile, they get things done. But everything feels like pushing a car uphill in soft sand. Emotionally drained people often feel ashamed of their exhaustion. They think other people have it worse. I should be stronger. I shouldn't complain. But emotional exhaustion isn't weakness. It's a sign that you've been strong for too long without support. Let me ask you something. If a friend were feeling the way you do, would you tell them to just push through and ignore it? Of course not. So why talk to yourself that way? How do you begin healing from emotional drain? There's no magic switch, no one therapy session, no 5-minute morning routine that suddenly chills your nervous system forever. Healing happens in layers, like peeling armor off the body one piece at a time. But here are the foundations. This sounds simple. It's not. Many emotionally drained people don't even realize when they're overwhelmed. They've numbed their internal signals, like background noise, learning to pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it? What triggered this is the beginning of emotional literacy, not dramatic, life changing ones, tiny ones. I can't talk right now. I need 5 minutes. No, I'm not available today. Healthy boundaries are like muscles, weak at first, shaky, maybe even terrifying, but over time, they stabilize your life and protect your energy. Small boundary today, safer nervous system tomorrow. Some people have lived their whole lives believing, if someone is upset, it's my fault. If someone is struggling, I must help. Let me say something hard. You can care about people without carrying their lives on your shoulders. Other people's emotions are not your homework. Not productive rest. Not multitasking rest. Not folding laundry while resting. Actual rest. Even 10 minutes of doing nothing can feel unfamiliar at first, but that discomfort is your nervous system unlearning its survival habits. If you need permission, here it is. Rest is not earned. Rest is required. This could be therapy, a close friend, journaling, a quiet room, a support group, or even walking alone in the evening with headphones. Emotionally drained people need a place where they're not on duty, a place where nobody needs anything from them, a place where they can finally exhale. This can feel uncomfortable, even selfish, but it's not. You are not responsible for holding the world together. You deserve care too. You deserve comfort. You deserve to have someone show up for you, not just you showing up for them. And if you didn't hear that growing up, hear it now. You matter because you matter, not because of what you do for others. Before we end, I want to ask you something directly. If your body, heart, and mind could speak freely without judgment, what would they say they need right now? Think about it seriously, quietly, honestly, because emotional exhaustion isn't a personality trait. It's a message that something in your life has been too heavy for too long, and you don't have to carry it alone anymore. Sarah, the client I mentioned earlier, didn't get better overnight. She started with tiny boundaries, 15 minutes of real rest, saying no once a week, letting herself cry without immediately apologizing for it. Slowly, her nervous system started trusting that the world didn't collapse when she took a break. And one day she walked in and said something beautiful. I'm still tired, but I'm not tired alone anymore. That's what healing looks like. Not perfection, not constant happiness, just slowly becoming more human again. And if you're reading this while feeling emotionally drained, I want to leave you with this. You are not weak. You are not lazy. You are not failing. You are tired, and tired people need care, not criticism. So, if you had one small act of kindness to give yourself today, what would it be? Think about it. Then give yourself at least that much. You deserve it.